Have you ever wondered why you react so strongly to certain people? Why some behaviors in others make your blood boil while similar actions from different people barely register? Or why you sometimes say or do things that seem completely out of character, leaving you asking yourself, where did that come from? What if I told you that Carl Jung, one of the most brilliant psychologists who ever lived, discovered that we all carry within us a hidden personality, a dark double that influences every decision we make, every relationship we form, and every path we choose in life? Today we're diving deep into Jung's most controversial and perhaps most important discovery, the shadow self. By the end of this video, you'll understand the 7 hidden aspects of your shadow that are secretly running your life, and more importantly, how to integrate them to become the person you were truly meant to be. This isn't just another psychology video. What you're about to learn has the power to completely transform how you see yourself and others. Jung himself warned that confronting the shadow is one of the most difficult and dangerous psychological journeys a person can undertake, but it's also the most liberating. So if you're ready to meet the parts of yourself you've been hiding from and discover how they've been pulling the strings behind the scenes, then stay with me. Because once you see your shadow clearly, you can never unsee it, and that's exactly when your real life begins. What is the shadow self? Carl Jung described the shadow as the part of the unconscious mind consisting of the repressed, denied, or undeveloped aspects of the conscious self. Think of it as your psychological basement, a place where you've stored all the parts of yourself that didn't fit with who you thought you should be. The shadow isn't inherently evil or bad. It's simply unconscious. It contains our repressed desires, our unexpressed creativity, our authentic emotions, and yes, sometimes our darker impulses. But here's what most people don't understand. Your shadow also contains tremendous power, creativity, and vitality that you've cut yourself off from. Jung famously said, "Everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is." In other words, the more you ignore your shadow, the more it controls you from behind the scenes. The 7 hidden aspects of your shadow. 1. The rejected child. Deep within your shadow lives the version of yourself that was rejected, criticized, or told to be different during your formative years. This rejected child still carries the wounds of not being accepted for who they naturally were. Signs the shadow aspect is active. You find yourself people-pleasing to an exhausting degree. You feel a deep fear of abandonment or rejection. You suppress your natural enthusiasm or creativity because it once wasn't welcomed. You react with disproportionate hurt when criticized. The rejected child in your shadow isn't trying to hurt you, it's trying to protect you from experiencing that original pain again. But in doing so, it keeps you small, keeps you hiding your true self, and prevents you from forming authentic connections. When you integrate this aspect, you reclaim your natural spontaneity, creativity, and the ability to be genuinely yourself without needing constant approval from others. 2. The suppressed rebel. Every person has a rebel within them, the part that wants to break free from limiting rules, expectations, and social conditioning. For many people, this rebel gets pushed into the shadow because being good and compliant felt safer. This shadow rebel shows up as passive-aggressive behavior when you can't directly express disagreement, sudden explosive anger that seems to come from nowhere, a deep resentment toward authority figures, self-sabotage when you're about to achieve something you should want, an attraction to people who live freely and break rules. The suppressed rebel carries your authentic power and your ability to set boundaries. When integrated, it becomes healthy assertiveness, creative innovation, and the courage to live life on your own terms rather than everyone else's expectations. 3. The disowned sexuality. In our culture, sexuality is often surrounded by shame, guilt, and mixed messages. As a result, many people push their natural sexual energy and desires into the shadow, creating a split between their pure conscious self and their impure shadow. This manifests as intense attraction to people who embody the sexuality you've disowned, shame around your natural desires and fantasies, either complete sexual repression or compulsive sexual behavior, judging others for expressing sexuality you secretly crave, difficulty integrating love and lust in relationships. Your sexual shadow isn't just about physical sexuality, It's about life force energy, creativity, passion, and the ability to fully inhabit your body. When integrated, it brings vitality, authentic passion, and the ability to be fully present in intimate connections. 4. The hidden aggressor. Perhaps no aspect of the shadow is more feared than our capacity for aggression. We're taught that anger is bad, that nice people don't get angry, and that aggression is always destructive. So we push this natural energy into the shadow. The hidden aggressor appears as passive-aggressive behavior instead of direct communication, attraction to violent movies, books, or news while condemning violence, sudden rage that feels unlike you, difficulty standing up for yourself or others, either complete conflict avoidance or explosive confrontations. But aggression in its healthy form is simply life force energy that helps you protect what matters to you. It's the energy that helps you say no, set boundaries, protect the vulnerable, and stand up for your values. When integrated, your shadow aggressor becomes healthy assertiveness, protective instincts, and the ability to channel your power constructively. 5. The envious competitor. Competition and envy are natural human emotions, but we're often taught that these feelings are ugly or shameful. So they get relegated to the shadow, where they operate unconsciously and often destructively. Signs of the shadow competitor. Feeling secretly pleased when successful people fail. Comparing yourself constantly to others. Difficulty celebrating others' successes genuinely. Imposter syndrome and fear of your own success. Either avoiding competition entirely or being ruthlessly competitive. Your envious competitor actually contains important information about your deepest desires and unrealized potential. The people you envy are often living aspects of yourself that you've disowned. When integrated, this shadow aspect becomes healthy ambition, the ability to learn from others' success, and the drive to become your fullest self. 6. The primitive self. Civilization requires us to suppress many of our primitive, instinctual responses. We learn to be polite, controlled, and civilized. But this primitive self, with all its raw authenticity, gets pushed into the shadow. The primitive shadow shows up as fascination with primitive cultures or lifestyles, feeling most alive in nature or away from civilization, sudden impulses that feel completely unlike your normal self, eating disorders or issues with bodily functions, a sense that you're living a life that doesn't feel real or authentic. Your primitive self contains your deepest instincts, your connection to nature, your raw authenticity, and your survival wisdom. When integrated, it brings groundedness, authentic presence, and the ability to trust your deepest instincts. 7. The unlived life. Perhaps the most poignant aspect of the shadow is what Jung called the unlived life. All the potential selves you could have been but chose not to become. Every choice creates a shadow of the unchosen path. The unlived life shadow appears as deep regret about paths not taken, intense fascination with people living lives you could never live, a sense that your real life is always somewhere else, midlife crises that seem to come from nowhere, dreams and fantasies about completely different lives. This shadow aspect contains not just regret, but tremendous creative potential. These unlived aspects of yourself don't have to remain forever in the shadow. Many can still be integrated and expressed in new ways. The dangers of an unintegrated shadow. When we refuse to acknowledge our shadow, it doesn't disappear, it just operates unconsciously. Jung warned of several dangers. Projection. We see our shadow traits in others and react with intense judgment or attraction. The things we hate most in others are often our own disowned shadow aspects. Acting out. The shadow finds ways to express itself through slips, moments when our carefully constructed persona cracks and our shadow bursts through inappropriately. Depression and anxiety. Keeping parts of ourselves locked away requires enormous energy and creates internal conflict. Relationship problems. We either attract people who carry our projected shadow or push away people who threaten to expose it. How to integrate your shadow. Shadow integration isn't about acting out every impulse. It's about acknowledging, understanding, and consciously choosing how to express these energies constructively. The process begins with honest self-reflection, paying attention to your strong reactions to others and asking yourself, What does this reaction tell me about my own disowned aspects? Your shadow isn't your enemy, it's your unrealized potential. Every aspect you've pushed into the darkness contains gifts that your conscious self desperately needs. The rejected child holds your authenticity. The suppressed rebel holds your power. The disowned sexuality holds your life force. Jung said that our goal isn't to eliminate the shadow, but to integrate it consciously. When you stop running from these aspects of yourself and instead begin to understand and integrate them, you don't become a worse person, you become a whole person. The journey of shadow work is not easy, but it's perhaps the most important work you'll ever do. Because on the other side of facing your shadow lies the person you were always meant to be, not perfect, but complete. Not without darkness, but no longer controlled by it. Remember, you are not just the person you think you are. You are also the person you think you're not. And embracing both is what makes you truly human. If this video resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more deep dives into the psychology of human transformation. And remember, your shadow is not something to fear, but something to integrate. Your wholeness is waiting.